Hi, my name is Peter and I'm a full-time evangelist with OAC. My aim over the next few minutes is to encourage you in your evangelism, and I'm going to do that by pointing you in the Bible to Mark chapter 5 verses 1 to 20. But to save time, I'm not going to read the passage. You'll know the passage, I'm sure. It's where Jesus meets a demon-possessed man and casts the demons into pigs. But if you want to be reminded and refreshed of the passage, just put me on pause. I won't be offended. Go away and read it and come back with it fresh in your mind. I want to encourage you with an encouragement that might sound like a discouragement at the start. And I want to tell you that evangelism is not meant to be comfortable for you, because it's a spiritual battle, and not many battles are comfortable, are they? The Lord Jesus goes into this unclean place, meets this unclean man, full of these unclean spirits, the pure, holy Son of God. It wouldn't be, humanly speaking, a comfortable place for Jesus to have gone. But he goes. Where do you do your evangelism? Maybe you do it at your work, or in the street, or in your school, or among your family and friends, or some or all of those things. But wherever you do it, the chances are you're probably the only believer in that area, or that building, or that circle of people, or maybe just one of two or three. And it can be easy just to live our lives in the world, can't it? It can be quite comfortable. It's just that when we do evangelize, things can become a bit uncomfortable. And that's okay. Evangelism will always be uncomfortable. It can be joyful, but still uncomfortable, especially if you're doing it right. Now, what do I mean by if you're doing it right? Well, I always ask myself this question every now and then, and I encourage you to ask yourself this question: who are you doing your evangelism for? If you're doing it for yourself, because you like the sound of your own voice, and you know things that people out there don't know, and you want to tell them that and show them that, that may not be the best reason to do evangelism. Are you doing it to be seen by your church, your pastor, Christian brothers and sisters? That may not be a good reason either, because you'll be looking and listening to how they're thinking about what you're doing. So you'll try to get your theology right and your wording right that will please them, but maybe not communicate well with the non-Christian. Are you doing your evangelism for the non-Christian with them in mind? Well, that's a great thing. You'll then be thinking about how they need to hear what you have to say, what they're thinking, what they understand. And that's a good place to be. Look at this man in verse 15. It says that when the townspeople came, they saw the demon-possessed man sitting there, clothed and in his right mind. He was sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening to Jesus, just like Mary. And remember, Jesus said that was the right thing for her to do. There's no more comfortable place than being at the feet of Jesus. So much so that when Jesus gets up to leave, the man begs Jesus that he could come with him. And Jesus said, no, you go and tell what the Lord has done. What the Lord has done for you. But what does the man do in verse 20? He goes and tells what Jesus has done. Because he knows who Jesus is. He's God himself. And his gospel is going to be Jesus-centered. He goes and tells what Jesus has done for him. And that's the best reason to do our evangelism, for Jesus. Go and tell people what Jesus has done and glorify him. Go and tell people what Jesus has done for you and glorify him. And go and tell people what Jesus can do for them and glorify him. And the best way to evangelize is to go into the world straight from having been at the feet of Jesus, straight from listening to Jesus, to go and speak and listen to the people, to be with Jesus in prayer and in fellowship, to get strength from him. So you can expect to feel uncomfortable in evangelism, but it's not a sign that you're doing it wrong. Rather, it might be an indication that you're doing it right. And I would encourage you to find your comfort in Jesus, at the feet of Jesus and in the presence of Jesus. And may God bless you in your evangelism.